Hi everyone! This week I'm going to be talking about Corn Island. For those of you that don't know, Corn Island is off the Caribbean coast in Nicaragua, and for those of you that maybe know me more personally, you'll know that I was actually in Nicaragua right before Trudeau was like, "Come home, everyone." So I came home a little bit earlier than expected, but that's okay. What I'm going to talk about is my experience on Corn Island while I was there in Nicaragua. Corn Island, it is small. There's actually two islands. There's Big Corn and there's Little Corn. Now, they're a little bit far out, which means they're a little bit hard to get to. You have maybe not just two options because you could probably mix and match different components of this, but let's just make this basic and you want to take the cheapest option. So let's say you take a bus. You can take a bus from Managua to Bluefields, and that would be pretty long. That bus is about 8 hours, but it is much faster than it used to be because they actually have a better highway running through. From Bluefields, you would have to take a ferry, and that ferry to Big Corn Island would take 12 hours. Again, this is pretty lengthy, so if time is really not on your side, then I would say that the following option might be better. If you want to cut your time down significantly, you can take a plane straight from Managua to Big Corn Island. That trip, if you book a flight there and back, it'll cost you roughly about 160 US dollars. You would purchase the plane ticket from La Costeña, which is just a small airline that runs in the country, so there's that. Usually to book that, you can book online or over the phone. I had trouble trying to get a hold of them by phone because I read that it was cheaper if you book directly like that. I just couldn't get through, so I ended up booking it online. I ended up taking the plane there because I was short on time, because at that point in my trip, I actually had convinced my mom to come visit me in Nicaragua. So she only had 2 weeks, so we spent some time mainland and then flew over there. But of course, if you have lots of time, which I would have, taking the 12-hour ferry, maybe I would have done it. I don't know. Or maybe boats aren't your thing. But once you're on Big Corn, if you're trying to get to Little Corn, you can only get there by boat. There is no plane that goes there. So you have kind of two options. One is the panga, and that is probably the way most people would get there. It is a long boat. People can fit in rows of 5, and I don't remember how many rows there are, but I do think I have a picture of what it looks like. That boat ride can be really bad or really chill. It can be bad if it's windy and the waves are choppy. On our way there to Little Corn, at first I thought, okay, it's kind of choppy. And then all of a sudden, once we started picking up speed, the water was gushing onto us. Like, I'm talking, it felt like there were full-on waves coming onto us. So what they had in place was this handy black tarp, which we just folded over everyone. So you can imagine from one side of the boat, just this massive tarp going over us. It felt like I was in this black coffin going up and down on waves for 40 minutes. A little bit terrifying for someone who kind of has a slight fear of deep waters, but again, I made it, so maybe you will too. The way back for us was really great. It wasn't choppy because the wind was going the opposite way. We came and back the same day because we were actually staying on Big Corn. So taking the panga back was really chill until the girl in front of me puked onto my lap. I digress, that's not an important story for this video, but maybe you can ask about that in the comments if you want to chat about how the girl puked on me. It's kind of funny. For Little Corn, like I said, you can either take that panga, which there are, I think, 2 or 3 times a day where it will go from one side to the other and then of course back. The other option is sometimes when it's really wavy and choppy, they will actually run a larger ferry to and from Little Corn. That's not every day, but maybe if you're there a while, you can try and time it so that it's at that point. I don't know if I can guarantee that, but I just wanted to throw that out there for you. Where to stay on Big Corn? We stayed in a hotel. I was with my parents, so we wanted something a little bit nicer. I probably would have gone with one of the budget hostels that are there. They are available. So even though this is a small little island out in the middle of nowhere, there are still some varieties of options for you to stay. So don't worry. How to get around the island. Big Corn is even pretty small. Little Corn is even smaller, but let's focus on Big Corn for a second. Getting around doesn't take long. I think taking a taxi from one side literally around to the other would probably just be like a few dollars. It's pretty inexpensive. So you can go by taxi around everywhere. There is actually a bus that goes around the island. I believe it stops around 7 p.m. and it runs every half hour. For a small island, I feel like that's very often. So if you're trying to spread your money a little bit further, then maybe the bus is a good way to get around for you while you're there. There are also random people that take golf carts, which you can rent. I would probably opt for a bicycle instead. I feel like a golf cart's kind of weird. Maybe that's just like biased or a personal opinion, but anyway. Where to eat? I will mention this too because there are some more fancy restaurants which are okay. We ate at quite a few and they were good, but also the little local ones we went to were also good. So if you're trying to spend less, it is probably pretty possible. I think at the local ones, you could probably spend about 300 or 400 cordobas, which is pretty cheap for a whole meal. So don't worry if you're going there on a budget, you can probably make it happen. So that's where to eat on Bighorn. You can also check out Lynette's, a restaurant. This one is pretty famous. It's a restaurant that she's turned out from her home. So it's very cute. She makes amazing rundown, which is the local stew that's famous for the Caribbean side of Nicaragua. It's got different seafoods, different yuca and potatoes in it with coconut milk. Delish. Loved it. So I would try that too. If you're on Little Corn, I know also there are a few more reasonably priced guest houses you can choose from, but you can also go for like fancy resorts there too. There are quite a few of them. Little Corn, how do you get around? You walk or you bicycle. There is no roads. There's a main road, which is a sidewalk. That's it. pretty small. It is tiny, but it is super beautiful. Probably some of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen were on Little Corn and Bighorn Island. So I would definitely check them out. I'll leave a few pictures for you to look at as well for some inspiration. And I might be back some later time about some more details on things to do on the island. That's all for now. See you!